All right, today we're talking about something huge, a real revolution in healthcare. We're going to dive into how your own personal DNA is completely changing the way doctors prescribe medicine. Pretty cool, right? Let's get into it. So, have you ever had this happen? You take a medicine that's a total lifesaver for your friend, but for you, nada. It does nothing. Or, even worse, you get all the bad side effects. What is going on there? Well, it turns out it's not random at all. The answer is actually written right there in your genetic code.
You know, that exact experience really highlights a fundamental problem with the way we've thought about medicine for a long time. It's this idea of one dose leading to totally different fates for different people.
I mean, for decades, medicine has pretty much been a one-size-fits-all game. But here's the thing. We're not all the same, are we? So that exact same pill can be a miracle for one person and, well, useless or even dangerous for another. To figure out why, we've got to take a trip inside the human body. Okay, so let's follow that pill. To really get what's happening, you can think of your body as this incredibly complex factory or a processing plant. It has a whole system set up specifically to handle any drug you put into it. Yeah, in the science world, they call this the ADME process. ADME. It stands for absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination. Basically, the drug gets in, moves around, gets broken down, and then gets kicked out. Now that third step, metabolism, that's where things get really interesting, because that's where your personal genetics come into play in a massive way. So who are the star players in this whole metabolism game? They're a group of enzymes in your liver, and they have this super technical name, cytochrome P450. Let's just call them CY450. Think of these guys as the workers on the assembly line in that processing plant we talked about. Their job is to break down the drugs. But what happens when the assembly line gets totally overwhelmed? Well, that's when you can run into something called drug-drug interactions. It happens when you take more than one medication, and they basically end up fighting over the same enzyme. It's kind of like two lanes of traffic trying to merge into one. You're going to get a traffic jam. And in that traffic jam, you've got two main players. There's the perpetrator drug. It's the bully that hogs the enzyme. Then you have the victim drug. It gets blocked, can't get processed, and ends up just building up in your system. And that buildup, that's what can cause really unexpected and sometimes dangerous side effects. Let's make this super concrete with a real-world example. It's called competitive inhibition. So you have an asthma drug, theophylline, and an antidepressant, duloxetine. Turns out they both need the same enzyme. But the antidepressant, duloxetine, has a much stronger grip. It just muscles its way in and hogs the enzyme. This completely blocks the asthma drug from getting processed. So the theophylline just builds up, and that can lead to things like nausea and vomiting. But it's not just about drugs competing with each other. There's an even deeper layer to this. And this is the real game changer. It's the realization that how well your internal processing plant works, how efficient that assembly line is actually hardwired into you. It's all determined by your personal genetic blueprint. This idea is so important it has its own name, pharmacogenomics. It sounds complicated, but it's really just the science that connects pharmacology, the study of drugs, with genomics, the study of your DNA. It's the field that finally helps us understand why our unique DNA makes us all react so differently to the very same pill. Okay, take a look at this. It really breaks it all down perfectly. Your genes basically decide how fast those little enzyme workers operate. So, if your genes code for a slow metabolizer, the drug hangs around for too long and can build up to toxic levels. On the flip side, if you're an ultra-rapid metabolizer, your body clears the drug out so fast it barely has time to do its job. What you're aiming for is that sweet spot in the middle, the normal metabolizer, where the drug level is just right. So here's the absolute key takeaway. The speed of your internal drug processing factory isn't just a random fluke. It is literally written into your DNA. Tiny little differences in your genetic code, scientists call them variations or polymorphisms, are what dictate your body's response. Let's talk about codeine. You've probably heard of it, right? It's a super common painkiller. But here's a fun fact. Codeine itself doesn't actually do anything for pain. It's what's called a prodrug, which means it's inactive. It needs a specific enzyme, CYP2D6, to flip a switch and turn it into morphine. That's what gives you pain relief. So if your genes make you a slow metabolizer, you barely make any morphine and you get little to no pain relief. But if you're an ultra-rapid metabolizer, whoa, Your body churns out way too much morphine way too fast, and that can be seriously dangerous.
And look, this isn't just some cool science theory in a lab somewhere. This is happening right now, and it's already changing people's lives. Pharmacogenomics is literally paving the way for medicine that is truly made for you.
Just look at oncology, cancer treatment. This is a total revolution. For years, the main tool was chemotherapy, which is kind of a blunt instrument. Now, doctors can actually test a tumor's specific genetic code to find the perfect drug that targets that specific cancer. For things like HER2-positive breast cancer or certain types of leukemia, genetic tests can tell a doctor with incredible accuracy which drug is going to work. We're moving from guesswork to absolute precision. And it's just as big a deal in cardiology. There's a really common blood thinner called clopidogrel. But here's the catch. It needs a certain enzyme to turn it on in the body. Well, it turns out a lot of people have a genetic variation that means their enzyme just doesn't work very well. For them, taking that drug is almost useless. They're still at high risk for blood clots, stroke, or a heart attack. A simple genetic test can spot this right away, and doctors can switch to a different drug. I mean, that is literally life-saving information.
What about mental health? This is a field where, let's be honest, finding the right medication can be a long, frustrating process of trial and error. But pharmacogenomics is bringing some serious hope. By looking at genes related to how your body handles antidepressants like SSRIs, doctors can get clues about whether a certain drug will work for you, or if you might need a different dose, or maybe even a different medication altogether. It's a huge step forward. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface here. These examples are from just a few fields. The applications are exploding, impacting more than 10 different medical specialties already. We're talking about everything from treating HIV and epilepsy to managing pain and cholesterol. The point is, this science isn't coming soon, it's here, and it's working. So what's next? I mean, where does all this lead? It's pretty clear that guiding prescriptions with DNA is already a huge deal. But believe it or not, scientists are already looking beyond that, to the next level of personalized medicine. This timeline really lays it all out. We started in the one-size-fits-all era. Right now, we're in the present, with DNA-guided prescriptions. But the future? Wow. The future is about an even bigger picture. We're talking about using AI to crunch massive amounts of data, looking at things like RNA to see which genes are actually turned on, and even analyzing the bacteria in our gut, our microbiome, because it turns out they also help process the drugs we take. It's a whole new world. And that, right there, is really the bottom line. This promise of personalized medicine, it's not a far-off dream anymore. It isn't science fiction. It's an emerging reality. The ability to tailor treatment to your unique biology is happening as we speak, and it's creating a future of healthcare that is way more precise, way more proactive, and just incredibly personal. So I'll just leave you with this one final question to think about. Will your next prescription be written not just by your doctor, but by your DNA? The answer to that could change everything.